Hello, and welcome again to an episode of Unexpected Advice. I'm Esther Angell. Thanks for joining us. I am joined today by my friend, Michelle Scobie. So, hi, Michelle. Glad to have
Hi,
you
Esther.
on. Now, Michelle and I worked for a few years together, and I really consider it a privilege to having been able to do that. Michelle's lived all over the US, from Pennsylvania to Florida to Atlanta. Her career spans the likes of SAP, Dell, Microsoft, and now Cargus Systems. Now, for those of you who know her, you know she's an avid traveler and a seasoned communicator. But that's not what we're going to talk about. So thank you for joining me today, Michelle. It was interesting when we talked about this and I asked you to be on and we talked about what you might want to share. And it really struck me when you said that you wanted to talk about how you show up and intentionally showing up. And this is something that I think we take for granted, especially in the world of like social media, and digital and how we show up in the digital world. Talk to me first, like when we first opened up and you talked about this, you have so many great stories to tell. What really brought this to the forefront of your mind? Why was this really hitting you as something important you wanted to talk about?
Well, Esther, first of all, great seeing you again. And thank you for inviting me on your podcast. I,
Yeah,
I consider this a privilege as well. I have
thank you.
truly enjoyed working with you and excited for your next adventure. So thank you. What struck me about this is I think we've come out of a very 5 year long like snooze fest because we've hit the 5 year mark. I think we're all ready to just get out there and really connect with people in a different way. I've seen it really transpire this past holiday season. And even for me, reaching out to folks, knowing that I'm going to be going to conferences, or if I'm going to be traveling and I'm going to be near in a city near them, I'm going to reach out and say, "Hey, I'm going to be near you. Do you want to try and get together for coffee, lunch, dinner?" You know, see them in person, or even just connect and say, "Hey, I've been thinking about you. I want to just, chat." Like just snowed for 2 days. Quite frankly, yesterday I was on the phone a lot with a number of different friends, just catching up. I'm like, okay, I've got a snow day. I'm just going to hang out and I'm going to catch up with some friends that I haven't talked to in a long time. So, from an intention perspective, and really bringing that to the forefront for myself in 2026, I want to, be intentional about how I'm doing this, whether it be for business, whether it be for personal, and just, checking in with folks and seeing how they're doing. I think with today's environment that we have a lot going on, whether it be, political, business, or even personal. There's a lot going on in today's world that folks, sometimes just want to have somebody to talk to and, just say, hey, can we talk about this? Or thank you for thinking of me. So that's
Yeah,
really
that
what brought it to the
yeah.
forefront for me when we were, kind of riffing this.
Mhm.
And, you know, I will say a personal note. I'm a paper crafter.
Yes.
So I do handmade cards as well as scrapbooks for people. I'm more on the card side. The scrapbooks take a long time. But,
Yeah, they do.
I sent out over 75
That's
handmade
amazing.
Christmas cards this year. And I have another cards that I make. Here's a Valentine one. But the Christmas cards this year especially, I heard from people that I haven't talked to or heard from in years. And they were like, "Thank you so much for continuing to think about me. Your cards are beautiful. Let's connect in 2026." And these are colleagues, friends that I've met during my travels, or family members that I haven't talked to in a while. So, I'm excited to share some of this excitement with you as we,
Yeah.
kind of peel back the layers.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned coming out of COVID. So when we were in COVID, there's a gap, I think, for young people. I think for people like us who've been around for a minute, we've had the experience and the opportunity to build relationship and to learn how to build relationship over distance. I have friends. I live in Pennsylvania now. That's not where I'm from, but I have friends in Oklahoma. I have friends in Texas. I know for the same for you because we've talked about you travel and a lot of times you're traveling to see people that you know. We've had the opportunity to build that. And I think there's a lot of people who haven't had this opportunity, and a lot of us don't know, or we've gone out of habit of showing intentionally up for our people and people that matter to us. What's some advice you would give to people who kind of are scared? They're scared to put themselves out there because it can feel intimidating to put yourself out there because you feel like, oh, I don't want to bother them. I know they're really busy. Like, what's your advice?
I think it's just take the first step and just say, "Hey, I was thinking about you, go on LinkedIn or even Facebook and just say, I was thinking about you today. Something brought you to the top of mind for me, and I want to discuss it with you. Like something may have reminded you of this person, or you might have heard, a song, that brought
Yeah.
back memories, from your childhood or when you were in school that you're like, I just want to have that discussion with you. And I just thought about you. You know, Getting that unexpected reach out from someone that you have a
Yes.
relationship with, from way back when is great. I mean, it does open that dialogue back up, and you're like, oh my gosh, I thought about you too, because such and such and such and such happened. And I think you just have to kind of take that first step. Don't do it like with 100 people. Pick 3 or 4 or 5 people, whether it be through LinkedIn, someone you know on Facebook, or even someone here locally that you haven't talked to in a while. I've got some friends that I've kind of lost touch with that I'm intentionally going to reach out to and make sure that we go have coffee. I live here,
Right.
they live here. And I mean, you and I just had lunch the other day and it was
Yeah.
fantastic. It was great to hear about the kids and find out what's going on in
Yeah.
your life. And I think sometimes we forget that not only we can reach out, further outside of our, comfort zone of living where we live, but, even being where we live, we still get like, I feel like I'm going to be bothering somebody or, I might not hear back from them.
Yeah. I think that fear holds us. And I remember you said when we were at lunch, you said, you just have to show up. Esther, you just have to show up. And it's some
Yeah.
of the best
Yeah.
advice. And you're not the first one to give me some of this advice. I had similar advice from a friend who's like, just invite people over. Your neighbors don't care that you have boxes in your living room because you just moved there. Show up. Just invite people. Just invite people. And she was right. And I know my neighbors. And I've spent a lot of time doing that. And I think I see that. I think that might be one of the reasons like we don't work together anymore, but we stay connected is because we intentionally believe in that community that we build. We have to have a community.
Correct.
You have to.
Yeah, I mean,
What?
it takes a village. Let's just get that out of the
Yes.
way. Life takes
Yes.
a village in today's environment. And it's not just, whether it's corporate life or your faith or your family or just your friends. I mean, it does take a village. The tribe that you have in your, that you can reach out to is very important. And it does keep you, active, keeps your mind active, keeps you moving along. And, I think that is one of the things that, my mom is, and we've talked about it, my mom is in assisted living and they keep those seniors very active. And I encourage her to stay active and reaching out to some of her friends, even from Georgia, to keep that mind and knowing that there are other people in her life outside of just the people that she's connecting with on a day to day basis.
Yeah. And there's research shows it like longevity, health, happiness is about being connected to others. We're social creatures and we need those connections. I think a lot of times I'll say that social media often gives us a false sense of connectedness because we
Hmm.
see someone's post about their life and we feel connected, but we've really not made a connection because communication is reciprocal. It has to have a back and forth. And I appreciate what you're saying about you've got to reach out. You got to send the message. And if they don't respond, they don't respond. Like this isn't necessarily a reflection on you at all. They could just be busy or maybe their life is full or whatever reasons. That's them. They got to do them. You got to do you.
I agree. I agree. And doing it in person, like I said, sometimes
Yes.
I might be at a conference, or sometimes I will intentionally, like this past Thanksgiving, I went out to Denver to spend time with a family that's very near and dear to my heart. My sister was in town and she was with my other family, my mom and my aunt and uncle. But I went out to spend time with another family that is like family to me. So I intentionally said, you know what? I'm going to spend time with this family and really just have a great time and kind of dig in and just, and I also met other people along the way. So, I mean, I think
Nice.
that's the other thing. I met a lady on the train to the Philadelphia airport. Her parents live above my aunt and uncle at the retirement community. I mean,
It's small.
like,
It's
what
a
is a
small
small
world.
world? And she
It's
and
a
I
small world.
hopefully are going to get together and go out for coffee. And this is another way, just talk to people on the train, talk to people in line at the grocery store. You never know what someone's going through. And just, your encouragement or just saying hello and just saying, or if somebody opens a door for you, I do this all the time. If somebody opens a door for you and you walk in, say, thank you, have a great day. I mean, it takes 2 seconds, for somebody to feel like, oh, I got seen. They showed up, I got seen, and that kind of maybe lighten their load for the day. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think we might wanna dive into this a bit more because I think we're both kind of extroverts, we're very confident, and there's so many people and I remember talking to a woman who's not an extrovert, she's not this outgoing personality, and she was at a networking event, and she kinda got thrown in, and they said, "Okay, go talk to people," and she's like, "Where do I start?" And I think that's the hurdle so many times is where do I start? Because we see the world of people and the ocean, right? And you can't swallow the ocean. So what's a tip like when you're not feeling it, when the feelings aren't there, but what's a step? What's a recommended step? How do you get yourself through this? How do you get yourself when you don't feel like it? How do you get yourself to that next step and take an action?
Yeah, that is a great question. And sometimes, even for myself as an extrovert, when I'm in a big room of people that I don't know, it's kind of like, okay, I have to ground myself and say, okay, nobody in this room knows me. So I can walk up to somebody and say, oh my gosh, I love your blouse. I love your dress. Wow, what a great looking tie if the guy has
Yeah.
a tie on.
Yeah.
But just have an open dialogue and say, oh my gosh, that is a beautiful dress or I love your earrings. I mean, I think sometimes, people want to hear that, they've picked out something that they're wearing and boom. Or like
Yes.
in your case, I love your glasses today. This
Thank you.
is, this is a new thing. And you have different glasses for different outfits and different
All the time.
moods. I know. So I think it's just grounding yourself, taking a deep breath. I know it's scary because I've been in that situation. I
Yeah.
don't
We
always
all
walk
have.
into a room and go, oh my gosh, I'm just going to be talking to 50 people. No, that would not be me.
Well, and
But
it's
I
something
would,
that you mentioned is the one, like you pick one person.
and so just pick one person. And it's funny because eye contact is the other thing. And that one person may be in the same situation as you are. They
Yes.
might be going, oh my gosh, like I'm in this room of people. I have no clue what my next step is. But I locked eyes with this person and now they're coming over to me and now they're going to ask me a question or say something to me. Don't ask a question, just make a comment and say, oh my gosh, are you as scared as I am to be here
Yeah.
with all these people that I don't know? I
Yeah.
mean, you can just
Yeah.
make
There's
a
a lot of
comment.
people here.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
people here. Do you want a tag team? Do you want to like we can follow each other around? That's the other thing I've done in some situations, especially if it is a large room of people. Find somebody that looks like they're in the same situation. Strength is in numbers. So if you
Yes.
both kind of are together, you can have a quick chat and go, hey, you want to try and conquer this together? Let's
Yeah.
go. And I
Yeah.
think that's another way, you're going to make another networking friend or a friend because they're going to be like, thank you for saving me too. But also, it'll be a way to kind of break the ice and
Yeah.
allow you to move forward in those conversations.
Yeah. Well, and there's a couple things that you mentioned there. So it's breaking it down to bite-sized pieces, I think is really important. Having a script in your mind and trying that out is a really good way to connect with people kind of with intention and having a good question. I take a really good question like, have you come to these events before? Or whatever that question would be. People love to talk about themselves. It's a great way to get something started.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's not even around work related stuff. I've been to a number of fundraisers, impacting the homeless, or I support a number of farm sanctuaries. I've been to some of their fundraisers in person, but it could be just around, what you're passionate about and find
Yes.
out if that, oh, what brought you to this event? And it could be anything, just ask that open ended question. And sometimes you'd be
Mhm.
surprised, to your point, how people love to tell you their story and kind of open up and talk about themselves.
Yes. And let's shift a little bit because I think we're in professions where we are out networking a lot and some people aren't. It's a remote first workforce or it might be,
Right.
inside all the time. And I still want to make those connections. Maybe you're moving into a new city, you did this. So I'm really curious, what are some of the ways that you've gone about to show up with intention and build a community? Like
Yeah,
especially in
I
a
did.
new place.
Yeah, I did move here without knowing anyone outside of my mother and my aunt and uncle, which really took me out of my comfort zone. But I'll be honest with you, I started signing up for cooking classes. I went
That's
by
a good
myself. Now, for
yeah.
a lot of people, that's daunting. A lot of
Yeah.
people are like, I can't go somewhere by myself. Oh my gosh, that's just not. in my comfort zone. And that is a scary thing. I really had to get over it. But I knew in order for me to move forward, I had to kind of get over that. I had to go get my nails done. I had to go, go to the grocery store by myself. I had to really put myself out there. But as I was doing it, I was like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to meet new people. They're going to connect me with other people. But I did. I started signing up for cooking classes. I met a few people there. I also was getting my nails done. I met one of my best one of my best friends. We were both getting our nails done and she was sitting in the chair next to me and we got to chatting and she has the same shoes and purse as I do. And I was
Well,
just
that's
like,
awesome.
"Oh my goodness, we were meant to meet." And you just never know who you're going to meet, when you're going to meet them, and how you're going to meet them.
Be
And you
open.
have to be open for that, to have an open heart to say, oh my gosh, I say this, now this is my point of view, but nothing happens out of happenstance. Everything has a connection. Whether you know it or not, at least in my world, I meet people like, look, the lady on the train that I met going to the airport, her parents live above my aunt and uncle. Like,
Yeah.
this is how small our world is. And I think you just have to be open to doing those things that
Yes.
really are going to take you out of a comfort zone. Going to the movies by yourself. You never know who you're going to meet. You could be walking in and talking to somebody and going, oh, I'm really excited to watch this movie. And then you might be walking with them out of the movie theater and you can still keep talking to them.
Yeah.
So it
Right.
does take you into a different, situation. And, you
That
just never
mindset.
know what a conversation can do for another person as
Yeah.
well as yourself.
Right. Right. And it's putting yourself out there. I think that's a big thing when we think about intention. It's not just about picking the thing to do, but to do it and intentionally put yourself out there. It's not just throwing out and I'll see what sticks, but I'm going to put myself out there, be open to new experiences, be open to conversation. And that can be really challenging when you're going into new places, building new relationships. That can be. It feels like, and you said it feels uncomfortable. It always feels like I did the
It
same thing. I
does.
had to move here and make friends and,
Yeah.
you know, introduce myself to people and introduce myself to the neighbors and you put yourself out there. And it can feel uncomfortable, but it's also how you grow. We don't grow in a place of comfort.
No, we don't. And you make a good point. We really don't grow in a place of comfort because that means our roots are not going deep and we're not kind of spreading them
Yes.
out. We need to grow and move those branches out so we are capturing the most light and
Yes.
nutrition to keep us growing. And that, I
Yes.
think, to your point, is having that openness to kind of move forward. I mean, when I moved into my house, I sent a note to all because I'm in a unit with three other, families. But
Yeah.
I sent them a note and said, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm your new neighbor. I just wanted to introduce myself. This is who I am. And I look forward to seeing you around, when we put our garbage out or when we're out
Yeah.
front." So
I love it.
I didn't
I love
wait
it.
for them to come to me. I had to go to them if
Yes.
I was going to build a relationship because I needed them. I still didn't know that many people here, and now I'm in a
Yeah.
community of three other families in my building, and I'm like, okay, I've got to do this, and this is who I am, and here's my phone number, and here's my email address. So yeah,
Yeah. Let's stay connected because they know where you live. That's one of the things I think neighbors, they know where you live.
yes, I do.
Um, let's talk a little. Let's dive a little bit. So we've covered and kind of meeting the new and creating the new. What are some ways and some things that you've thought about in retaining the old? So you moved, and this has been a challenge for me. And I do have friends. Some of my best friends from college are still my friends, and I've tried to even be more mindful. The older I've gotten, more mindful and purposeful in connecting. So what's some advice you would give to people who maybe have let some of those relationships lapse or know that they're going to be shifting? What's some advice to how to retain those long distance relationships?
Yeah, that I have struggled with that myself, and it really is. But again, we just had a snow day on
Yeah.
Sunday, and I literally was calling people, going, "Hey, what
Yeah.
are you doing?" I know in Florida, one of my best friends from seventh grade, she lives in
Yeah.
Tampa. I
Mhm.
know that she was not having the same weather we were. But I caught her at a great time. We had a great conversation, and she's like, "I'm so glad you called." She's like, "How's the weather?" So I just posted something on Facebook, but I think it's taking that time to just pick up the phone. I mean, sometimes you just got to pick up the phone and call people. I know it's a little scary to call people versus text, but it's short of getting on a plane and showing up on their front doorstep and knocking on the door going, "Hey,
Yeah,
I'm here. Let's hang
I'm
out for
here.
the weekend."
Yeah.
But I do that from time to time. Sometimes I'm like, "Okay, I'm stuck in a rut. I just need to go somewhere and visit somebody." Like, I've gotten in my car and driven to Boston and saw my friend in Boston. It's a 6-hour drive. It's a great drive, you know, outside of winter time.
Yeah, don't do it.
But I'll go
Don't
up
drive to
there.
Boston from
Yeah.
Pennsylvania during
No,
the winter.
but I'll go up there. She has 3 horses, 2 large dogs. I'm like, "Christine, I'm coming to visit you. So let's just don't muck out the stall. I'll do that when I get there."
Yeah, nice, nice.
You know? Just those random, outreach, and some people you might be able to get a hold of them and they might go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going to come visit me." Because I love having visitors. And I think from a personal perspective, my close friends, I can do that with. From a LinkedIn, it does get a little bit different. You have to put out, you have to share things or make comments. I haven't, when I changed, when I started at Cargus, I put a post. When my, title changed, I put a post out there. It was really great to hear from a lot of people and I respond back to them. I also like when they've been promoted or if they've moved into another job. I always say congratulations, super excited, well deserved, because I want to bubble up to the top. And even from that conversation, people will bounce out and send me a DM and say, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing? How's it going?" And so I think that's another way to really stay connected and, to bring it top of mind. But I do think it is a little bit difficult in today's digital world, especially as we're scattered across the US and overseas. I have some colleagues that I used to work with that live overseas now, and I'm like, just itching to get over there to visit them. I'll probably pick a random weekend at some point and go visit them. They're not
Right,
that far.
right.
But I think it's just having that intention, setting time aside to say,
Yes.
"Okay, I'm going to not boil the ocean. I'm going to pick 2 or 3 people that I've really had on my mind lately." And maybe they've moved into a new job and you're like, "Oh, how did that happen?" And they might not even, they may have retired and now they're working part of a board or they've changed careers 180 degrees. And you're like, "How did you do that? I'm really curious about that." Or they might have a side gig and you're like, "Oh, I might want to try that." So asking them questions and kind of digging into where their path is, opens up the opportunity for them to share with you.
I like that. So picking a small, like not a dozen, and it's purposeful, and whether it's a block of time on your calendar or
Hmm.
setting a goal for a week. Like this week, I'm going to reach out. I remember hearing a lecture about relationships take nurture. It's like working out. If you want to build your
Yeah.
physique, you have to go to the gym. If you want to have good relationships, you have to invest that time. And it takes time to do that. So, one of the tricks that I use is for text messaging because I'm a Gen X. I love to text message. I text message, but I have a top on my phone is a list of friends. And my goal is to text those people regularly. So it's my reminder to do that. Sometimes
Hmm.
I'll put a note on my calendar to do that. I want to make that a recurring, like, hey, on Friday mornings, I'm going to reach out to somebody, and then I can add to that list like who I want to reach out to. A lot of times I'll just do it if I think of somebody. If somebody comes to mind, I try to text them. I do.
Yeah, you came to mind the other day for me, and I sent a text. I was like, "Hey, happy New Year! What's
Yep.
going on? I saw your
What's
one of
going
your
on?
podcasts." Yeah,
Yep.
it just takes a moment, and so, but I think we forget about that.
Well, and I think if you're online, there's this because it lives forever. And so put the best face online all the time. And I think when you have that conversation in passing, or it's not recorded, where it's the call, it's the text message, it's the quick hit, it's the not out in the public face. Those are so important. That's what builds connection.
Hmm.
It's not just, it's a great, I like commenting on people's stuff, but that follow up you do of,
Yeah,
hey, congrats on the new job. And then that direct message you say, love that you started a new job. What drove the change?
yeah,
Now they
yeah.
want to talk. They want to talk about themselves. They're
Right.
excited. You're building connection. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it really does take a quick, like what happened? Like, this is great. Super excited for you. How come, in some cases when you see a lot of people get laid off, you're like, "Oh my gosh, so sorry. I will keep you in mind." DM them and say, "How can I help? What business, what industries, look at my contacts. Please let me know if I can help in any way." Because really, even in that situation, it's always important. So people know it's like the 8-minute rule. You've probably seen that all over social media that sometimes people just need 8 minutes to kind of say, all right, I need help. I am terrible about asking for help
Yes.
because that's just how I'm wired. But I have learned over time that sometimes I have to ask for help and say, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I can't solve this all by myself. And I have to start reaching out to some of my inner circle and say, hey, do you have a few minutes to talk? Because I've run into a situation that I'm not 100% sure of, and I want to bounce a few things off of you.
Mhm.
So that's another way to connect with
Yes.
people,
Yes.
especially like some of my old managers and mentors.
Yes,
They're
especially.
always happy to kinda jump in and say, "Oh, no problem. How can I help?" So that's
Yes.
another way you can kinda stay connected.
I love it. That's such good advice. Michelle, thank you so much for sharing. I know
You're
you've spent a
welcome.
lot of time building your network. This is something that you have been intentional and it shows. And I appreciate you sharing all of your advice with us today. So I would say my question for you on this would be around let's professional, and you are seeing, like you said, you're seeing a lot of these layoffs and these shifts, and you've navigated these shifts throughout your career, and you've really been, you've had a very successful career. So what is some advice that you would have for people entering into this job market today? What should they be like? Look, made this mistake, or I did this thing and it paid off. What is that piece of advice you give people who are entering into tech, into marketing, into this crazy wild space that's just in upheaval right now? What advice would you have that you would like to give them?
Well, first of all, I will tell everyone AI is not going to go away. So please sharpen your skills on AI. Even for
Yes.
myself, I'm a
Yeah.
little bit behind and I do need to really jump in. And that
We all
is
feel
one of
like
the
we're behind.
top priorities. You would think that I wouldn't be given how much I've been in the tech world. But, even for myself, I have been in a layoff situation twice in my career, but you know, I was intentional about how I was going to look at it. Take a look at the people in my network. You can download your contacts from LinkedIn. It's very
There you go.
easy. You can sort on that. You can take a look and see who's who in the zoo at which companies. And then you can go out and look at their websites and see if there's any roles. And then you can reach out to them and say, hey, I just saw a role. This is what's happened to me. And this is what I did to come to Cargus. This is what's going on. I saw a role on your website. Would love to have a conversation with you because this might be something I would be interested in. And I want to make sure that you get a chance to, submit me as a candidate because most of the companies in today's environment will pay a fee for new hires.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Referrals. Yeah.
yeah, referrals. So that you want to make sure that if you do have, someone in that, at that company and they refer you in, you want to make sure that, they're going to get that, fee. So that's one thing. But then maybe you want to just throw caution to the wind and change your entire career. And you're like, okay, I'm done with doing XYZ. I've been doing that all my life. And I think I want to try some brand new. Again, download, you can take a look at your LinkedIn contacts because guess what? I guarantee you there's other people in your network or even in other networks of folks that
Right.
that have done the same thing. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I want to pivot to going to do this. Well, now you can take a look at those individuals, whether it be the role that you're looking at, or if it's an industry, or if it's just like you want to be a flower designer. You'd be surprised how many people will put that on a LinkedIn or even, in some of the local, newspapers. You can go to the online newspaper zone and search for people and find
Okay.
out, who's changed roles, especially in small cities like ours. So they
Yes.
do that.
That's a good point. Yeah. Like if you're in
Well,
small
they
town
do. Yeah.
USA. Yeah.
If you're in a small town USA, you can go, "Oh, I want to see everyone who's just changed roles in the last 30 days and see if you know anybody
Yeah.
and what are they doing?" Say
Yes.
congratulations that you've changed roles, but you know what? I'd love to connect with you and here's why.
Yes. Well, and I
So,
like that it's all building into that connection. And this is
yeah.
the number one thing because in today's world, like I've seen these jobs out there and there's like 2,000 people that applied for it.
Yeah.
How is
No.
like if I know somebody and say, sometimes I've asked people for like, what do you think about working at this company? Do you like it? What do
Yeah.
you think about it? And just building those relationships, building that network. Yeah. I think no matter what industry you're in, no matter what time of career you're in, it's never too late to build a network, to nurture your network. It's never too late.
No, I mean, because you're going to apply the same tactics to building and nurturing your friend network. I mean, this
Yes, it's true.
again, it's the same. It's a little different, but it's the same because you kind of have to put in the same effort to stay connected with your friends, and it does take time and effort. But it's worth it in the end because, when you do have a situation, whether it be, a job change or you've had a family loss or something in your life that you need someone in your community or your village to, help you transition, to talk to, you're going to be able to do that without, stumbling and saying, I don't even know who to talk to because this is
Right.
happening and I'm lost.
Yes. It's all about having that it takes village.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
It does. It does take a village.
Well, thank you so much. Michelle, thank you so much for taking time with us
Well,
today.
no,
Thank you for
thank
sharing all
you.
your tips and tricks, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking me to be on. And I'm sure there'll be some people on LinkedIn that's going to go, like, I haven't connected with Michelle in a while. Well, guess what?
I
Send
need
me
to
a
connect with them.
DM.
That's right.
Yeah,
We'll put that. Well, and
go
speaking
ahead
of
and
that,
connect with.
please,
Yeah.
please like, subscribe. If you're checking out the podcast, please make sure on whatever channel you subscribe to so that you can get notified of when these come out. We're also on YouTube. Check us out at insightfullycurious.com. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining.